When you clarify your message, you're going to know what to say to the camera to create the content that you need to create, right? And when you do that, that is going to be the foundation of everything that you do. So if you want a practical step today, take what Dustin just outlined and run that through your messaging and clarify that message. And that's going to be a game changer for you. Welcome to Coaching with Content. This is our very first episode, and we're really glad that you've taken a minute just to kind of check it out. I'm pretty sure you're just curious to what in the world we're doing. So thank you for taking a minute. My name is Darren Cooper. I'll be the host of the podcast. I'm here with the one and only Mr. Dustin Pead. Dustin, how are you today, my friend?
I'm good, man. Excited for the podcast. Excited to kick some coaching with content off. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being here.
Excited.
And with this being our very first episode, I felt like we should probably introduce ourselves. Although with it being a first episode, we're probably like friends and family only are probably going to listen to this. But you know what? Just in case for that one person, you that is stuck around and checked us out, we'll introduce ourselves.
Well, when the podcast gets hot, just like any other hot podcast, you always go back and go, I got to start this from the top because this podcast is hot.
So good. So yeah. So welcome back. If you've listened to episode 47 and now you're back at number 1, welcome. But my name is Darren Cooper. I run an agency called 1898 Creative. We do a lot of video production for coaches and consultants. And really what we say is we help coaches and consultants win with video. We love content. We love video. We think that's the way to be, which is really the whole point of episode 1 here. And like I said, joined with Dustin here. Dustin's been working as a creative consultant with us for a while. But Dustin, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you do and how you help creative professionals.
Yeah, so I'm creative process coach and consultant. So a lot of creatives are really great at ideation, but very not great usually at execution. And so what I tell people is I help creatives know themselves, their process, and their team so that they can create greater things together. And so it's really about efficiency at the end of the day so that teams, creatives and their teams can scale.
It's so true. And you've come alongside of us here at 1898 and really helped us with that exactly. When I was first starting out, I had no idea what I was doing, especially from a process and operation standpoint. You came in, streamlined a bunch of stuff for us. So if you're a creative professional out there listening to this, hit up Dustin. He will definitely help. And we'll tell you how to get a hold of Dustin later and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you got to stick around to the end for that.
Yeah, you got to catch that at the end. So all right, Dustin, let's frame this conversation a little bit. We really want to talk about why every coach needs a video content strategy, right? Yeah. And that's really important. That's something that's close to our heart. And really why that matters is because to me, creating video content is the best way to build trust with an audience. And that's what we're going to talk about today is allowing for your video content to be something that works for you in the world. Yeah. What you're not going to get in this conversation is how to go viral in 30 days or the next best TikTok trick. I can't even say that. TikTok trick and
next best
tip.
TikTok trick.
Woo, that's a tough one. That's not what we're about. This is about creating content that builds trust with your audience or your target audience so that you can bring them into what it is that you do as a coach or a consultant. And Dustin, how does that sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, at the time of this recording, I just released my 100th podcast episode. Right?
Congrats, man.
And thank you. And, you know, it's not about, for me, I was having this conversation yesterday with my social media manager. It's not about the viralness,
virality, is it?
Virality. Yeah. It's not about that for me. It's about building a content library, right? That what I've got going on, the message that I'm trying to share and my frameworks and my tools and my tips and tricks on how creatives can be more efficient, all that can live out there without me having to be on Zoom calls all day or in person all day. Like someone's like, I need a tip on how to create better time management with me and my team. Great. I got like 5 or 6 episodes on that. There it is. You can go
Boom.
watch it. That costs either of us nothing. Doesn't cost me time because I've already done it. Doesn't cost them any money because it's free on the podcast. But
Yeah.
they hear it and they go, oh, then it's just, it's a, to use a phrase that I think is on its way out, it's a lead gen, right? It's a lead
Yeah.
generator to say, this is what I'm about. If you want to get to know me and you want to get some free kind of tips and tricks, it's an opportunity for me to put that out there. So I think for me, it's more about having the content library than it is about going viral or even having a large audience. When people look me up as a coach or a consultant, they go, oh, he's got something to say. He's been saying it consistently now for
Yeah.
over 100 episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
So
For sure.
that's what it means to me.
And even having whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel, having 100 episodes or a handful of videos that are out there, it says that you're committed to something. It says, like you said, you have something to say. And I loved what you said about it's working for you all the time. And we'll talk more about the selling 24/7 here in a bit. But yeah, that's the purpose and the meaning of this episode, where we're headed with that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about why video works. We're going to talk about some core pillars and some examples, and then maybe even how to implement some of this stuff. So that's kind of where we're headed today. But with that being said, let's dive in. We really want to talk about why every coach needs a video content strategy. And I got just, the three points here, the 3-point sermon, if you will, that we'll walk through and talk through. But the first reason that every coach needs a video content strategy is because, and we've touched on it already, it builds trust at scale. It really builds trust at scale. Because if you're a coach or consultant, really, you have your processes, you have your frameworks, you have your ideas of how to get somebody from point A to point B. But really what you're selling is you're selling yourself. Right. You're selling who you are, right? And if I don't know who you are, if you kind of hide yourself behind a website and some stock photos, I don't know who you are, and you're saying, hey, I can help you out, and I don't get to hear you talk or see your personality. I mean, Dustin, I think that's something that you see a lot of coaches or consultants do, where like if they're on a podcast or if they're in videos in some way, shape, or form, right? And they laugh at silly things or they say certain things a certain way, it just kind of lets you into their personality, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you and I knew each other for years before we started working together, but one reason that that I did engage with you is because I knew you as a person. I trusted you, even though I might not know exactly all your processes and frameworks and everything, but I trusted you as a person. I had conversations with you about life and about different things. And so I trusted you enough to be able to say, you know what, I want to engage in this relationship, of this working relationship with you. And that's why I say this kind of stuff, creating content builds trust at scale. So as somebody, Dustin, that's worked, 100 episodes of a podcast now, how have you seen that with some of your clients? Have you seen it build trust even before somebody jumps on a call with you?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. If I get, by the time I get on what all of us have is these discovery calls, right, where we're getting to know each other or whatever, and I'll drop a mention of kind of one of my frameworks, or I'll mention, hey, this is the kind of approach we take. Inevitably, I hear, oh yeah, I remember hearing that on the podcast, or I remember seeing that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or, oh yeah, I clicked a social thing that you had about that. And that's where, you're the do versus do guy. Yeah. Okay, cool. Or yeah, you're the process guy. Right. And it's just one of those things that's just, it's almost like a nickname that starts to stick. But yeah, it definitely helps have a better starting point than just kind of walking in cold and not knowing really anything about the person that you're about to meet with. I'm trying right now on my end to figure out how to flip that and go, how do I learn more about the client before I get on the call? So it's not so weird for me to be like, tell me about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, who are you?
But yeah, it's a great start. Many times it comes up. It's a great starting point for them to be like, oh yeah, I mean, I've got a book out there too, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I read your book, and I know that story. I know that I've heard you talk about that
Yeah.
on the podcast before, that kind of thing.
And I think we all know this in some way, shape, or form, whether we verbalize it like this or not, is that when we're watching the content, whether it's YouTube or listening to a podcast or even catching somebody on social media, it does build trust.
Hmm.
And it probably goes the other way too, but it does build trust where you're like, oh, this person, I understand them a little bit more. And what I love right now, and this is a little side tangent, is, I think for a long time, social media kind of became this perfectly curated version of ourselves. And I
Hmm.
think that still happens a little bit, but what we're seeing over the course of time now, and especially the rise of like longer form content or podcasts like this, is it's hard to be fake in a 45-minute conversation, right? Like you can't keep that front of just like, oh, let me serve up the best parts. Like you get to hear a little bit of the struggle. You get to hear a little bit about, oh, what's what we're working on right now. We're doing, and so it allows for that trust to be built in that way. And I think that's what I love as you look out on the landscape of kind of where we're at in social media land and just
Right.
content in general. It's starting to get less produced and more just real life conversations.
Yep.
And that's going to build trust a lot faster than anything else. And so I love this idea, or this little quote that's coaches sell trust, and trust is built faster on video than any other platform.
Yeah, and I think that too is just to be able to hear. It's not just about hearing tone in the person's voice, but it's about being able to see. As a coach and consultant, I want people to know that I empathize with where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And empathy is a super connector emotion,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That I can see more on someone's face than I can hear in their voice. I can hear it in their voice for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes it even more higher up on the connection level if I can show them with my face that I care,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like you're doing right now. Like you're
yeah.
showing me with your face that you're listening intently to what I'm saying. If this was just a phone call, see, now you're trying and it's not working anymore. But but if this were just like a phone call thing, right? Then
Yeah,
it'd be like, I don't know if he's like also
yeah.
changing a diaper at the same time that
Right.
I'm telling him
Which
about
is
my
which is
biggest struggles.
probably something
More
that
than likely with you, that's what's
I
happening.
have
Yes.
so many kids that
If
that
you're
would
not
probably.
on video, you're changing a diaper. Yeah.
Yep, that's very true.
But
And then if my wife is watching this, she's like, "No, you're not. You know
no,
who
you're
you
not. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like it's
100."
you have the facial express. Why emojis were so popular, right?
Mhm.
And via text is because you could
Yep,
share a visual of this is how I'm
yep,
feeling towards what you're saying. I'm
yep,
laughing about it. I'm sad about it. I'm
yep.
excited. I'm scared. I'm nervous. Like being able to share that emotion visually via video. There's no replication for that
Yeah.
other than being in person.
Yeah. And that's why the emojis were so good for a guy like myself, because I could always say something and then put that face, like the laughing face, because I was like, oh, that was a little bit sarcastic and it might come across rude. So let me put the
Mhm.
laughing face to make you feel better.
Right.
So that's, if you ever see me do that, Dustin, that's why I'm saying that,
I understand you.
anyway. So yeah, so number one reason that why every coach needs to build a video content strategy is that it builds trust at scale. The second reason is going to be that it positions you as the expert. And I know that's a little bit of, building trust obviously is kind of like, yeah, it puts you in the expert land, but positioning you as an expert is important because, like we've been talking about, right? You have to be able to be seen as that expert so that a potential client goes, you can help solve my problem. I have a problem that I need somebody to help me with. And they're all saying, can you help me? And when you position yourself as an expert, and I know a lot of people balk against that. I don't know how you feel about that, Dustin, but I know that, like, when we're talking about coaching with content and this podcast and we can help you do, there's days that I go, man, like, am I an expert at this? Like some insecurities kind of kick
Yeah.
in and make me
No,
go, oh, I don't know if I'm an expert. And
Yeah.
that's a little scary. So maybe there's an emotion there. Have you ever felt that in what you've been doing?
Yeah, it was actually the same conversation I was having with social media manager yesterday. We were talking about, we're both musicians. And we were talking about how, they always say Nashville is a 10-year town. And I
Mm,
and
mhm.
I told him, I said, and I was kind of processing this out loud with him. I said, I think everything is a 10-year town. I think everything is that, what was it, 100,000 hours to being an expert
Yep.
is what they say.
Yep.
I think everything is that.
10,000
And
hours. Sorry.
10,000 hour, whatever it is, to being an expert. I think all fields are that way. I don't think it's exclusive to the film or music industry.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's no different here. And if I'm a person looking for a coach or consultant, which even I look for coaches and consultants for my business. Like
Yeah.
I have financial coaches, I have business coaches, like,
Yeah.
right? I'm looking to go, are they experts? And if
Mhm.
and the expert status doesn't necessarily come from a title, it comes from experience. And experience is that backlog catalog, right?
Mhm.
To say,
Mhm.
like, yeah, okay, they're an expert because they've been speaking and teaching about this
Yeah.
for this long, and I
Yep.
can see it on their video, I can see it on their YouTube channel,
Yeah.
not necessarily in terms of followers. That's a young man's way of looking at
Vanity metric.
expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, of looking at I don't look at that expertise. I look at it, how much do they have to say,
Yeah.
and what are the conversations that they're having.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that 10,000 hours, it's that 10-year thing that exponentially grows that. I've been podcasting for 2.5 years, 2.5 years.
Mhm.
That's not a 10-year frame, but I have 100
Mhm.
episodes on my YouTube channel, plus clips and all the other stuff that we're going to talk about on this show, right?
Yeah.
Uh, all that stuff is on there that looks like a lot longer than 2.5 years.
Yeah. For
But I
sure.
also am bringing that. Obviously, we're all bringing previous experience to our to the table too. But
Yeah.
all that to say, I think it shows the expertise, more than any other metric can.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, when you teach somebody something,
Yeah,
it automatically kind of elevates you in their minds. And I think about it. You mentioned something earlier, Dustin, about the do versus do framework, and this is something that you teach most people
yeah,
when they work with you, and it's something that's really helped me. And so, what I want you to do right now is I want you to give me a quick breakdown of
sure.
the do versus do breakdown.
Yeah,
Hit me.
yeah, yeah. So many people operate off of due dates, DUE dates, right? They wake up one day and they say, this thing is due, so I have to DO it today. But the problem is that there's no margin because it's DUE today, right?
Mhm.
Now, what happens if today your kid gets sick, or your car breaks down, or your boss rushes into your office and says, I need this now?
Yeah.
Now you don't have any margin anymore. That thing is still DUE today, but you didn't plan it. So what we do is we operate off of DO dates instead of DUE dates. DUE dates are for our client facing, right? But for the most part, we're operating off of, what do I need to DO today, way before it's DUE, so that when it is DUE, I know it's DONE.
Dude,
That's
the
it.
end of that with the DONE, that's the first time I've heard that. Come on.
I've been saying it a lot recently, so
Dude,
it's just coming out.
I'm ready. Now, see, if you just listen to Dustin, I think what happens is in that few seconds of walking through a framework, he taught you something. And
Hmm.
you can take what he just taught you and
Yeah.
you can implement that reality. You never have to pay Dustin anything. He gave it to you basically for free,
Yeah.
right? And so now you can implement that framework into what you do, no pun intended, each and every day. And now all of a sudden, when you think of Dustin, whoop, just a little bit elevated.
Yeah.
So if you're a coach or a consultant out there, you have frameworks, you have ways that you think about what you do.
Yeah.
Let's take those frameworks and let's teach those frameworks just like Dustin did in what, 30 seconds or whatever. It doesn't have to be an hour-long podcast. It could be. We suggest that. But if you just simply broke down a framework like that, that is a piece of content that will elevate you in somebody's eyes because you've taught them something.
Right.
And that is what this whole point is that if you want to be considered an expert in your field, even if you hate that word and it makes it a little cringy in your mind, if you want to be looked at as an expert, you have to teach people the frameworks and the ideas that you have, and that's going to be a game changer for you.
And I want to say this too. I think a lot of coaches and consultants think, well, that's not really anything, amazing or earth shattering.
Right.
You don't know that until you share it. Like I
100%.
didn't think the whole do versus do thing was really all that earth shattering. And then I started sharing it and people were like, what's that now?
Yeah.
Come again?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's obvious to me. But what's obvious to you as a coach and a consultant is what makes you brilliant to other people. So just share it and start sharing it via video.
Yeah. I mean, Dustin, how many conversations do we have throughout the week or the month where it's just like, the little insecurities will creep up. We're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I've said to you multiple times, I'm like, dude, the frameworks that you share with me are life-changing for me. Because even I don't think the same way you do. Your makeup and the way.
That's it right there, is that coaches and consultants need to understand that people don't think the way that they do.
Yes.
So they need to share their thoughts as much as possible. And something, this might be getting out of our topic for today, but I just want to share something that Darren has challenged me with in my video content is to treat them as coaching sessions. And that has radically changed the game for me. And it's really taken the stress off of, oh man, I got to record today.
Yeah.
But if I just go like, oh, well, I just need to share about this do versus do framework on the podcast today. I can do that.
Correct.
That's not a problem. I can have a coaching session to my camera.
Yeah.
Say, hey, target audience.
Yeah.
Let me share this with you. And this is why it's important.
Yeah. It's not one-to-one. It's one-to-many at that point.
Right. But if you treat it like one-to-one.
Yeah, for sure.
Then it becomes natural. I think coaches and consultants get nervous when they go like, oh, this is going to go everywhere. Don't think about it that way. Just think about personify your camera for a second and go, all right, camera, you are a struggling artist to get things done. And so I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about that.
How would I help them in this moment? Yeah. And I think we've seen that over and over again. I've done that in my own, as we're building out 1898 and we're creating this content creation operating system. Like there's so many times I go, this seems like elementary stuff, man. But then I'll say it to like yourself when I say it to you. When I say it to you and you were like that whole idea of like, dude, just don't create the content, like document what you do. Right. And that idea, like all of a sudden people are like, dude, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, oh, I do know something, and so that's where it becomes, not everybody thinks the way that you do. So share your ideas and you'll be amazed at who connects with you.
Yeah. There's a brilliant little book that I think speaks to the heart of coaching with content. And the conversation that we're having today, by one of my favorite authors, Austin Kleon. He's famous for a book that he wrote, Steal Like an Artist, but one of his newer books is called Show Your Work. Show your work is so good, and it's so little. Like I don't want to leave the camera, but I have it back there. It's just a little square book with a lot of drawings and illustrations in it, so anyone can read it. Like a third grader could go, "Yeah, I get what you're saying."
Man, it's so good.
But showing your work is about what we're talking about here, and saying that we think we don't have anything to say, but if we just show a little bit of the behind the scenes magic and show how we work, then people go, oh, it's why people love behind the scenes stuff so much. The new movie comes out or a new show comes out, they binge the show and they go, I want to know where they shot that at. And I want to know how they got that. And I want to know and what food did they eat while they were on the set. And so they start looking up all the behind the scenes stuff, right? People want to see the work, show them the work.
Yeah. So, and that's so true. I think I wrestled with that for a while. And one time I was doing like a color grade on a video. Right. And I wouldn't consider myself somebody that's like an expert colorist that like could work in Hollywood on this stuff, but I do what I need to do to make it work. Right. And I just went through this little video of what I did and kind of posted it. And dude, so many people were loving it. Whether it was people in the industry or outside, they're like, why did it look all gray when you start? They're asking questions, and it just, it was just something so basic and so simple, but I just showed what I was doing, and it was easy to do. I just pushed a little button on this computer screen, right? And it changed everything. So yeah, that's huge. That's great. That's great. So yeah, the second reason that having a content strategy is important is because it positions you as an expert, whether you want to be called that or not.
Yeah.
But let's dive into the third and final. It converts viewers into clients.
Yeah.
I like to say that when you create ongoing content like this, and I think of this more in the long form content, things that are going to be on platforms like YouTube or podcasting platforms. Social media can be a little bit tricky in the sense that a lot of things disappear quicker than platforms like YouTube or podcasting. But I like to think as content as your silent sales machine that works for you 24/7 when you're sleeping and when you're just chilling.
Yep.
And I like to I was watching a podcast actually this week, and one of my favorite guys, the video department, my dude Omar, I can still not say his last name right, El Torres or something like that. But the video department, killer podcast, has one of his main guys on there with him, Myron, that they were talking. Now their podcasts are substantial, right? They're hundreds of thousands of subscribers and things of that nature. So scale this accordingly. But they were talking about a stat that's in YouTube that's really interesting, which is their watch hours. How many watch hours have happened in, say a 30-day time frame. And Myron on there broke this idea down so crazy. It blew my mind. But he was talking, he said, how many hours are in a day? Dustin, how many hours are in a day?
I believe 24.
24. You are correct.
I know that from the show with Jack Bauer.
Wow, dude, 24 is such a great show. Oh, man. Have you ever tried to go back and watch 24 now, though?
No, I can't.
It's so bad.
I need to let it be what it was. I know it was bad.
Don't try. Anyway, so he was talking, and yes, 24 hours in a day. And obviously in your sales day, if you're trying to sell, it's way less than 24 hours, right? But he was talking about when you create content, it's a 24/7 sales machine for you. Mm-hmm. And he goes, let's look at it this way. And he took and he pulled up the stats on his channel. Now he's got millions of people, so take that for what it is. But he said, I have X amount of hours in this 30-day bracket that equaled 19 years. So in 30 days, 19 years of his content was being consumed. And so like the idea of that is crazy. So yes, we only have 24 hours in a day, but your content now can literally reach people all day long, and even to the amount of way more than 24 hours, right? And that's what is so cool about creating stuff like this, especially in long form, like I'm saying, YouTube and podcast land. It can be a 24-hour sales machine for you, especially if you set it up right with the right links and the right funnels and the right kind of packaging around what you do. If you do that right, it can literally sell for you all day long. Mm-hmm. All day long. What stands out to you when you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hours thing is big, right? Because it's not just the 30 to 40 minute episodes of a podcast that you're recording that, we're going to talk a lot about in this show. It's the 30 to 40 minutes, but then you can also multiply that 30 or 40 minutes for probably 4 or 5 times with additional content that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And then now we're going, every podcast episode that I do, I'm getting 2.5 hours of content out every day. So now my 100 episodes really turns more into like 200, 300, 400, videos.
Yep.
Or more.
Yep.
And then you take those hours, and now we're doing the Omer math, right? Where we're saying, hey, this is a lot of hours of content that you have out there.
Yeah.
And that came out of the 30 to 40 minute podcast episode you recorded.
Yeah. And to that point, Dustin, it's not even just video content, right? Like you take content, your podcast episode, and you send an email out about it.
Yep.
And now there's kind of some touch points in there. Well, then you take that and you go, man, there's some really good quotes here, and let's create some reels, quote reels or
carousels.
Yeah, carousel pieces, or whether you're on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, you have content that you could put in that way. Like now it's
Yep.
not just always video content. You got blog content that could come out of it. Like so many pieces that come from this that allow you to just, I've thought about an idea, I've put it out into the world in a long form piece of content, and now I got stuff for days that, to your point, becomes hours and hours of opportunity to build trust and to sell what you do to people. And all along, you become the authority in your field. And that is why we really do think that every coach needs a content strategy, because let's review here. Let's review. It builds trust at scale.
Mm-hmm.
It positions you as the expert, and it converts viewers into clients.
Yep.
And I would say that every coach or consultant that's out there would love to have all three of those things, would they not?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit of practicals here, Dustin. I know that's kind of a lot of theory. It's a lot of why. It's a lot of all that stuff. But let's talk some practicals on how to build a simple content strategy. And we'll do this in also a 3-point framework. Thank you.
Got to. Yep.
First and foremost, if you're going to do this and do this well, you have to look at your messaging and your audience. So you have to clarify your message, what you say. You know, for us here at 1898, we're in the process of this right now, right? We are clarifying our message to coaches and consultants that there is an operating system that we can install for you, a content creation operating system that will do this done for you process, right?
Yep.
So we're working on that messaging. Dustin, you shared this perfectly at the top of the hour when you dropped your who you are and what you do. You have your elevator pitch down, and you know exactly who it is that you're talking to.
Yeah.
So what was that process like for you? I know you've been working on this the last couple of years as you started your business, but what was that process like for you, narrowing down your message, and why was that important?
I mean, honestly, for me, it took a minute. Now I could probably go through a little bit faster, but I think understanding what matters most to me, understanding my values and what I want to contribute the most. But then when it got down to like really practicals, there was a leader that I follow who said, "This really comes out in I do this for this because of this," kind of a trinity of statement.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I help creatives know themselves, their process, and their teams so that they can create greater things together. So I'm talking to, I know I help creatives. That's my target audience, right? I help creatives know themselves, their process, and their teams. It's about clarity, right? It's about clarity breeds efficiency, right? And then so that they can create greater things together and scale, right? So it's what they get out of it at the end. So it's who you're talking to, what you do for them, and what's going to happen. It's that kind of 3-piece message and I just started writing that down in my journal every day until I memorized it.
That's so good. And again, another thing that you taught us here today, Dustin, but if you simply just took that little 3 things and put it together in who you help and your messaging and all, that's going to help you so much. If that was one action step that you took today and just did that, it would greatly help on your messaging side of things.
Right.
And that's what I love. It's really, what do you want to be known for is what that comes down. That's the thing that I've been wrestling with over the last few, as we're doing this within 1898. Who do we really like serving, and what do we want to be known for inside of that? And when you put those together and put that little sentence together that Dustin just outlined for you, it's really going to help clarify your message. And when you clarify your message, you're going to know what to say to the camera to create the content that you need to create, right? And when you do that, that is going to be the foundation of everything that you do. So if you want a practical step today, take what Dustin just outlined and run that through your messaging and clarify that message. And that's going to be a game changer for you, you know? Yeah, I love that, Dustin. Thanks for sharing that little
Yeah.
3-step. That's huge. That's huge. So the second step. So once you've clarified your message, okay, you've gone through that framework that Dustin outlined. The second thing we want to encourage you to do is create what we're going to call pillar content.
Hmm.
Pillar content is going to be those pieces of content that live in places like your website, maybe even in your LinkedIn profile or in your social media some way, most likely your YouTube channel. It's going to be one of those main pieces of content. The ones that we like to see first and foremost is what we call a brand story video. That's who you are, that's what you do, and that's why you do it, right?
Yep.
It lets you know a little bit of history and kind of what's brought you to this place, lets you know what you do specifically, and you're using that messaging from step one in this video. And then the big thing is why you do it. Why are you passionate about this, right? Because Dustin, when I hear you talk about creatives that don't have a good process down and you get all excited and amped up and you're like, oh man, if they just use the do versus do framework, it would change everything. Like it's contagious, right? And that's really why we add that element into that video of why do you do what you do? Was it a moment in your life? Was it something growing up that kind of spurred this thing? Why you stepped into coaching and why you have this message that burns inside of you? When you start talking about that, dude, that gets contagious and it gets contagious quickly.
Yeah.
And so that's really what a brand story video is and why we say that's one piece of pillar content.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's going to be testimonial videos. Obviously, we all know those are important. If you get 2 or 3 clients to say really good things about you on film or camera, I guess we don't use film anymore, but on camera and saying, man, when Dustin helped me with the do versus do framework, it changed the game for me. All of a sudden I had margin. All of a sudden I had freedom. I wasn't like worried about getting stuff done and trying to fit it all in last minute and just stressing out. Like he helped bring the stress levels from 50 to 10, right? When I say that on camera and you take that clip, which I'll give you later, and you can then put it out into the world, now all of a sudden it builds trust. It allows people, it's somebody else saying nice things about you, which I think we all know why testimonials are important, because if anybody goes to Amazon to look up a product, what's the first thing you do?
Check the reviews.
Check the reviews. So we all know that. And that's why these testimonials are important. And sometimes, and Dustin, you've helped us with this in our process of just baking it into the step-by-step process of how you work with a client. Yeah. And whether it's in the middle or the end or the beginning, middle, and end, where you just have a quick, hey, I just wanted to check in. What's it been like? You have 3 or 4 questions to hit them with. And now all of a sudden they're saying these things. Wow, man, you really helped me with this. Hey, that's cool. Can I use that now in my marketing? So you have a brand story video, and now you have testimonials growing and becoming big. And then the third piece is really that I consider it frequently asked questions, or some might say educational content. Mm-hmm. What are those main pieces of things that you teach and that you do? And again, we're going to continue to go to this example, but Dustin, with your do versus do framework, there's so many frameworks that you use that have been extremely helpful for me. But like, if walk through 3 to 5 of your strong, good frameworks in an educational side, now you can see that is a pillar piece of content that can live in YouTube or on your website that does exactly what we're talking about in all this. So just imagine, right? Just imagine you're working on your website, trying to build up your stuff. You have a brand story video out in the world. You have 2 to 3 testimonial videos, and you have 3 to 5 of these like educational, frequently asked question things that you get asked a lot. And it all lives in your website or in your first line of offense, if you will. Mm-hmm. Right? Just imagine that. Like, that's just so much trust built, so much content that you can then chop up in all kinds of different ways and use to our point earlier about hundreds of hours.
Right.
That is why we say, after you clarify your message, you have to build the pillar content. Dustin, how does that sit with you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to end up being the foundation of your messaging. Mm-hmm. specifically in your online presence, right? People are going to go to your website, they're going to go to your social, they're going to go to your YouTube, they're going to see what you're about. And if you don't have anything there, then it's going to be harder for them to understand what it's about. And people are way more likely these days to watch a 3-minute video than they are to read an article or even an email sometimes. So you send that to them, you have that stuff available to them. It just speeds up the process of them being able to understand who you are and how you can help them so much faster.
Yeah. So good. So good. And the last piece of this that I want you to commit to. So if you've been listening so far and you're like, yes, I love this. This is what I need to do. I need you to commit to consistency. I think this is the toughest part. And I know I will be the first to raise my hand and say that I wrestle with this as well. I want you to say, I'm going to commit to creating and releasing X amount of content in the next, say, 90 days, right? So let's write that down. Let's say I want to put out 3 pieces of long form content in the next 90 days. All right. How are we going to do that? Well, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to batch everything together, right? This is another framework that batch, repurpose, repeat, right? That's what we're going to kind of commit to. And that'll probably be another podcast episode along the way, if I'm honest, but we're going to batch our tasks together. So you're going to record all 3 pieces of content at the same time. Then you're going to edit all of the pieces of content at the same time. Then you're going to create the assets that you need, whether it's thumbnails for YouTube or social media cuts or all that, right? We're going to do all of that together. So you're going to batch your tasks together. And the second thing is you're going to repurpose. It's exactly what we've been talking about in all this. You're going to take that long form piece of content and figure out how to make as many other pieces of content that you possibly can. Use AI tools if necessary. Use different ways that, have somebody else listen to it and tell you what the main parts are that stand out to them, right? So once you've batched, then repurpose, and then you're just going to repeat it. You're going to stay consistent. So whether it's one day a quarter, whether it's one day a month, whether it's one day a week, whatever you decide, commit to consistency and make this thing happen. And I promise you, it'll be a game changer for you and your coaching business. Batch, repurpose, repeat.
Yep.
Pretty solid. Somebody should do a framework on that and put it out in the world. Right?
Probably.
I don't know. Dustin, before we wrap up here, any final thoughts, anything that stands out to you? You've already been dropping gems all throughout this podcast. You probably have more social cuts in this episode than I will. So bravo. If we're keeping score, you're winning by a landslide.
Well, I don't want to make it too uneven. I'm just going to reiterate, just to get out there and just start. Start.
That's good.
Great book, little book, John Acuff. It's literally just called Start. So just start doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing viral.
That's so good. That's so good. And so as we wrap up here, a simple action step that I wrote down is if you don't have a video content strategy yet, to Dustin's point, start small. Identify 3 to 5 core topics that you want to teach and create one video for each. Doesn't need to be perfect. Your audience needs your expertise, not fancy production. I think that's a big thing that people get hung up on is the fancy production. Turn on your phone, turn on Zoom, do whatever you need to do, and just hit record and get out there into the world. So, well, Dustin, thanks for joining me on this very first episode.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure you will see Dustin a few more times in the weeks and months to come. You're going to see Dustin's face more. You're going to see some interviews with other coaches out there making it happen. We're kind of highlight their kind of expertise and what they do. And then we're going to just kind of continue to talk about how you can coach with content. So thanks for joining us this week. And always remember, go out there and create your art.